into it and try to parse out what's going on there. And one of the things I like to look at is the growth across these three dimensions that Amazon gives us. So overall, Amazon's growing at 22%. E-commerce is growing at 15%, and you have the number one largest retailer growing at 22%. Almost twice the rate of e-commerce, which is pretty darn impressive. But then when you peel the onion and you look, media, which is the bookstore, is only growing 5%. And this is because media is undergoing a transition. Just like in music, you used to buy music and download it. We used to buy physical music, and then you used to buy digital music and download it. Music is going through a change where now you're streaming. So Spotify and all these different apps, Apple's rumored to be announcing one this week, consumers have gone from paying for downloads to paying a subscription, $10 a month. Books are going through the same thing. So Amazon's had to release something called Kindle Unlimited, where if you're an avid reader, now you can get all-you-can-eat books for $10 or $20 a month or something like that. That's put a lot of pressure on the media category. But what's really interesting about that is, so they're growing 22%, media is only 5%, that means something else is growing a lot faster, and that's EGM. So the part that you guys partner with and or compete with, EGM is growing at 29%. In North America, it's growing 31%, so well over twice the rate of e-commerce. And internationally, it's growing 21%. This is due just to some macroeconomic things. So I think that's pretty impressive when you have the world's largest online retailer and they're growing at effectively 30%, the part that matters most to all of us. What Amazon doesn't tell you is what is the secret sauce, and to understand that we have to look back in history. And I've circled a little top point in time here, and this is the fourth quarter of 2006. If I extended the line before then, Amazon grew in line literally plus or minus 1% with e-commerce for 10 years. Then something happened in 2006, and ever since then, as you can see on the chart, the orange line is Amazon, the blue line is e-commerce, and the green line is retail sales. Amazon's been growing 20 to 30% faster than e-commerce since that point in time in 2006. Two things happened. Number one, Amazon had previously always believed in fast free shipping, and they got really serious about it in 2006. They lowered the rate for Super Saver. Super Saver's free 5-day shipping, and they lowered it from $100 to $50. But then they also introduced Amazon Prime. Okay, so this concept of a subscription program, and at that point in time, I think it was about $75 when they announced it. Now it's $99. All you can eat 2-day shipping for an annual fee of around $75 to $100. The other thing that happened, and this is urban legend at Amazon, I had to get this from all the Amazon insiders I've talked to. I've got several on the podium here today. What happened is, if you recall, Amazon had a partnership with Toys R Us, and Toys R Us was the anchor tenant for toys. And they got in a dispute. And Toys R Us waited until October of 2006, and all of us in the holiday business, if you're not in the toy business, something like 95% of toys are sold in a 30-day window there between Black Friday and Christmas. Toys R Us said to Amazon, hey, we don't like you anymore, peace out, have a Merry Christmas, sell out of toys, we'll see you later. And Amazon was really stuck in a hard place. So what they did is, they'd always had this third-party marketplace, but it was primarily for used paperbacks and books. So, and CDs and media products. So you would go and you would look for the latest Harry Potter book, and then you could buy it used from merchants, third-party sellers. So the urban legend is Amazon took a team of developers and deployed that marketplace into the toy category. In parallel, they had a team of recruiters that recruited, or sales reps that recruited sellers into that new marketplace, and they had a higher toy category sales that year than they did as Toys R Us as the anchor tenant. And the light bulb moment happened at Amazon. Since then, they've been relentlessly rolling out the third-party marketplace into every category, every geography, and it's my belief that that is the cash cow inside of Amazon. It's their biggest strength, but it's also their biggest weakness. So this is the thing that has funded, I would think, all the fulfillment center build-out, Kindle build-out, China build-out, international expansion, India, all of that has been funded by the third-party marketplace. And so imagine you worked at Amazon and this started happening, and you ran the shoe category, and you heard about what happened in toys, and you're kind of intrigued. This is given to me by someone at Amazon, and this is the napkin diagram that Jeff Bezos would use to explain why does it make sense for them to do this? Why would you, there's no offline analogy. And those of you that are branded manufacturers, I found that it's really hard to get your head around this, because the offline analogy is Walmart says to Target and Dollar General, hey, I know we've competed and we've said some rough things, it's been kind of tough, but we really want to open up Walmart and have you open up stores inside of Walmart. We're going to have the Target store inside of Walmart, we're going to have Dollar General, and we're going to have Gap in there, and we're going to have all these stores inside of Walmart. It doesn't make any sense in the offline world. It's nonsensical. But here's how Jeff Bezos made it make sense to the employees at Amazon. So he said, if you really, really, really put the customer experience first, and you put profit aside and all that, what does the customer want when they come to Amazon? They're giving out the books there, and Jeff Bezos said, even though day one when they're a media kind of orientation, we want to have everything. We want to be the everything store. And if you want to have everything, that means infinite selection. And even though Amazon's the biggest retailer, they can never have everything, right? There's going to be some limit to what they can have. Third-party marketplace solves that problem, and it explodes out the selection. So when someone goes to Amazon, they find what they're looking for. That's number one. Then the second benefit of the third-party marketplace is, let's say someone comes to, let's say someone's out there looking for a size 2 Hello Kitty Croc, which I'm sure is an amazing shoe, just not my personal preference. And now the third-party marketplace allows that to be on Amazon. It's something the shoe category person would never buy, but now a third-party seller sells that. But then what happens is there's another third-party seller that comes up and says, hey, I have that same shoe, and that guy's selling it for $50. I could sell it for $35. And what happens is a price war ensues, which drives prices down on Amazon, which is the second component of the marketplace, value to the consumer. The third part that's not on this napkin diagram that I've learned a lot about later is Amazon's done studies. And what they found is if they're the only seller of an item, it sells at a certain rate. But then once a third party joins in, the sales accelerate. And what happens is the consumer confidence that Amazon has given that item means they don't go look anywhere else. They don't price check, essentially. It's kind of like Progressive. Does everyone know Flo? So you go to Progressive and you can actually see, Progressive will even say, Geico's cheaper than us and we're less expensive than State Farm. And that makes that's good because then you never go anywhere else to check the price. You feel like Amazon has checked the prices for you, so why go check anywhere else? The other thing about Amazon Marketplace that's important to get your head around, and I used to struggle with Wall Street guys, and then they kind of finally got it. Well, Colin always got it, but it's really tricky. So think of Amazon as two businesses. I just want to walk you through a P&L really quickly. I know it's accounting and it's early in the morning, so bear with me. So think of Amazon's retail business, which is, again, we call it 1P. It looks like a common retailer profit and loss statement. We sell a $100 item. Let's say this clicker is $100. Amazon buys it from DSAN for $60. That's their COGS, and they sell it for $100. So they mark it up $40. So their gross margin is 40%. Then they have to pay for the R&D of the website, the sales and marketing to acquire users, the G&A, the finance team, and all that. And at the end of the day, probably for this item, $8. Let's say an 8% profit margin for electronics is pretty common. That's your typical retail marketplace. But then what happens is Scott's Clicker Shop opens up, and I start offering this in third party, and then let's say Amazon stops selling it. It changes. So what happens is, number one, Amazon's take rate is about 10%. So to keep the math easy, let's do that. So what happens is the revenue that Amazon gets from this went from $100 when it's 1P to $10 when it's 3P because of an accounting rule. Amazon, a lot of people say, how is Amazon allowed to do that? Amazon has to. It's an accounting rule. The accounting rule says when you run a marketplace, you can't count the transactional dollars as revenue. You have to count your dollars, the take rate dollars, as revenue. So immediately, Amazon's revenue for this, even though it just went from 1P to 3P, went down 90%, okay? So then you would say, why would you possibly want to do that? The other thing that happens is, now we have a problem. What do we call the $100 we sold this for? It's not revenue anymore. Revenue is $10. We have to introduce a new term, and that's where this term GMV comes from, gross merchandise value. Gross merchandise value is the transactional amount that goes through a marketplace. Revenue is derived from GMV, and the formula is GMV times take rate or commission equals revenue. And here we're using 10% for the take rate part. Then what's really magical, and then to answer your question, why would Amazon do this? This is what happens. And I've done this so that you guys don't just all fall off your chairs. Amazon then, what are their costs of operating a third-party marketplace? They're essentially zero. Because the 1P business bears all those costs. They already developed the website. They already got all the buyers. They've already done all the sales and marketing. They've already even done all the financial. They've got a massive financial team to support the 1P business. They might hire like 2 more people to run the marketplace. So what you end up doing is you have almost no cost in the third-party marketplace. So even though our revenue went down 90%, our unit profits now, and I did this, it's probably more like $9 to be honest with you, based on if you look at what eBay does. So it's insanely more profitable. So if you cared about unit profit, what you would do is you would move as many things from 1P to 3P as quickly as possible. And that is the cash cow that's happening at Amazon. Colin will put some of that in perspective for you. all these slides will be provided. This goes through intricate detail. I'm kind of low on time, so I won't go through that. So what's happened is Amazon only gives you one metric, and that is 43% of the units sold are third party. That's a deceptive metric because the first party units are media and they have very low AOV. The third party units are mostly EGM and they have a high AOV. So what ends up happening is that understates the size of the marketplace by about 20%. So we believe at ChannelAdvisor, the Amazon marketplace is about 60% of the GMV that goes through Amazon, and the other is 40%. What that means, the punchline is, if you think about Amazon as a $100 million retailer, inside of there is hidden another $110 billion in GMV. So they're really a $200 billion retailer this year. Last year they were like a $180 billion retailer. And I think that's how you need to think about them, because just because this clicker only generated $10 of revenue for Amazon, that doesn't mean Best Buy didn't lose out on buying this clicker. They lost $100 of revenue. So Amazon's effectively twice as big as you think they are because they have this hidden GMV. It's kind of the iceberg under the water of the marketplace. So that's really important to kind of get your head around. It doesn't help